So on Canvas, there is a Chixter download file. You download the file, and that will give you the model for this one. You go to File Set Project, you find your Chixter that you've extracted, and you set it, and then you open up your Chixter. Now this is where this one is a bit different than the last one, because the last one, the Pokemech, was a bunch of pieces. This is 2 pieces, the Chixter and the eyeball. Okay? So this is called organic rigging, and the reason that we would use this is for exactly this kind of thing, where we have a soft-bodied creature, okay? Or we have a human, right? Our fingers and stuff, these are not separate pieces. They're all just like one fleshy piece. So if I model the hand and I want to rig the hand moving around and doing whatever, this is the steps that I would need to do for this, okay? Now because this is a solid object like this, we don't have the same pivot points that we would have before. So a lot of this we have to kind of guess as to where the pivot would be for these kinds of things. If you were to model a human, 3D character, like this, you have to figure out, like, where are his hips? Where is he rotating his hips from? Where is he rotating his knee from? Where is his ankle? Where is the ball of his foot? If you're doing his toes, where are each one of his toes? If you're doing the fingers, where is each knuckle? Where is the base of the thumb? Okay, and you have to understand all of those things when you go into rigging something like this. When they do full-blown characters for like ILM for movies, they actually build them from the bone side to the muscles and all the way to the end of it. Hulk, ILM. Fine, just look up Maya muscle. There we go. Right? So they would actually go in there and figure out, here's the bones of Hulk, here's the muscles that are attached to all these things. If you've ever looked at the way your skin moves on some surfaces, stuff like your arm here as it's twisting, the skin is actually like moving and the bones are moving underneath. So the skin is like staying in place and the bones are like moving underneath. So that's stuff that you have to, as a rigger, have to know that kind of thing. There are jobs at some places where it's strictly just rigging, where you would just rig characters all day or just vehicles or whatever, if that's what you want to do. Okay, now obviously you'd have to study the anatomy and figure out how all this stuff works together in order for all this stuff to happen correctly. Here's all the joints for the spine, right? Every single joint on the spine would rotate, so they have a joint right there for each one of those. And you really have to take a step back and think about how do things move in the real world, right, in order for this to work. So on this Chixter creature, we're going to be doing a lot of guessing where things are at, which is always fun, okay? But the process is going to be pretty similar. I'm going to go to my joint tool, create joints. I'm going to go to wireframe. The first joint in any rig is always going to be basically their pelvis or their center point or whatever you want to call it. So typically about right here, that's where he's going to be pivoting from. So that's like the center of his body, okay? Then the next one, I could go up towards the neck, or I could go down towards the legs. So it doesn't matter which one I start with, I'll go down towards the legs. So I'm going to go right here, figure out where this is going to be pivoting from. So if you need to, you can get up and move your leg around and see where your leg's actually pivoting from to figure all that stuff out. I'm going to go with his knee. Just like before, it makes a difference if I'm way back here as to how he's pivoting versus way up there, okay? I'm actually going to be closer to the front, but more towards the, closer to the front, but not right there. So we're like halfway. The ankle will be probably about there. And then there are, if we look at the character here, he has 3 toes. So just like the Pokeball guy. So here's his ankle. There's a joint right here at the base of the finger. Maybe one in the middle. And then maybe one at the end. Okay, then I'm going to hit the up arrows. Oops, too far. And then go here, and then go here, and then go there. Okay, So very unlike the Pokeball where we were putting in locators and then we were snapping those locators to the joint's positions, or vice versa. Now as I drew that, you'll see that this actually came through the middle. This did not go off to the side, and that's fine. I just have to move it over. Okay, and again, trying to get this pretty centered so that it's not like off target. Maybe go to the front view or side view and scoot them over. Yep, that's good. And then the same thing here. I'm going to go to this joint and scoot it over there. Go to this joint, scoot it over there. Go to that joint, scoot it over there. Whoops. That one's pretty good. Probably just need to scoot it over some. Oops, I went too far down with that one. So I need to take this one, shift click that joint and parent it. There we go, it's better. And so you see that center line. I'm trying to line it up close to that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but close. I'm also going to bring this maybe a bit closer to the top of it. If you look at your finger, how your finger bends, it's not right from the center. It's actually a little bit closer to the top than it is the center. So I don't want to get it all the way at the top, but closer to the top than the center. Good. All right, then I'm going to duplicate this, move it over, and then rotate it. Too far. There we go. All right, so that's good there, and now I'll come back and draw the next stuff. Oops, front view. Now if I click this and I go to my joint tool and click on that to say I'm going to start from here again, it'll just continue off, okay? The more joints we have in the neck, the more deformation we can get in there. If I put a joint right here and I put a joint right there, his neck will not bend no matter what I do. It's going to be one solid shape moving back and forth. So I'm going to put a joint there at the base of the neck. And then basically about each one of these lines, I'm going to put a new joint. Now just like before, looking at where these joints would rotate from, where does your head rotate from? What's that? No, where does it rotate from? Like where's the pivot point on your neck, on your head? Your spine, right? Because that's where we're rotating from. That's the thing that's connected. So if you look at that, if you were to look at a top view, you'd see that it's actually like spinning from back there. So I will move those over, but I just wanted you to see that's where I'm putting it. And then when we get to the head part, the head is really only this. Just boom, and then that. Okay, so I'm going to take these and just adjust them. So I'll move that back to about there, and then I'll put that about there. Okay, and then I'm going to put a joint also like back here, just so I have one back there. I just want to have, you know, in case I need it. I probably won't, but in case. All right. So now naming time. So I hit Shift, open up all the joints, and I'm just going to go through and label them. So pelvis, and this is his right, hip. Right knee, right ankle. Keep your naming consistent, and then it'll be much easier for you than trying to basically figure out what you called something. This is right foot, back 1. Call it wherever you want. That's what I'm calling mine. This will be back 2, and then this will be back 3. And then that one will be right foot, pinky 1. And then this will be 2. And then that will be 3. And this one will be thumb or index, whatever I want to call it. As long as it has a distinctive name and you know, it's something that I can pick up on pretty quick, shouldn't be a huge issue. Okay, so that's good. Now let's go to the spine area. So I'm just going to grab all of these in this order. Yep, right there. I'm going to go up to my renaming tool, which is under this arrow. I'm going to close some of these. And I'm going to call this spine 1. Oops, just spine. There it goes. And then Maya will rename it spine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's an easy way just to name a bunch of stuff. This will be head, base, and this will be nose. And then we have one more, which is this one, and this is tail. Cool. So now we have all of these. Now I can take this one and just like we did on Pokeball, duplicate it to the other side or mirror it to the other side. So I go to skeleton, I say mirror, right there. I'm going to change RT to LT. This is going to be in the YX direction, or XY, and mirror. Okay. Now because I rotated, moved, repositioned joints, I'm assuming that my rotations for some of these are not lined up with where they should be. Like, if I go to my front view, my hip should not be rotating vertical like that. Let me double check my rotate tool just to make sure. Yep. So that's weird. My knee is in a good position. This is in a weird position. That should be up and down, left and right. All of my spine ones look like they are off just a bit. Maybe not. We'll do it to the whole thing anyway. So first thing I want to do is grab all of my joints and freeze the transforms. So that will freeze all of the transforms. I can double check my channel box. It doesn't get rid of the translates. It'll never get rid of translates, even though translates is clicked. It only does rotates and scales. Okay. Then it just screws it up. So now my joint's oriented like crazy like this. So then I go to skeleton and I say orient the joints. And I say apply. And then now my joint orientation should be better. Now if I click this one and don't say children, it does that one pretty good. Okay? So that way what we did in the previous one of having to go through and manually rotating that one up and down, left and right, whatever, we don't have to do it here if we know that there's options available for us to click. All right? So that's why I want you to dig through some of these menus so that you see what is available. Even if you don't know what it does, feel free to look things up, right? So there's that one and that one. Boom, both of those are done. Oops. I lied, that one's not doing it. Why aren't you doing that? You worked, right? Nope, he didn't work either. All right, we'll have to fix him. That's fine. All of these should be good. Yep. That's fine. Okay, so I just have to touch those ankles now and adjust those. So for whatever reason, this orient doesn't want to work on the ankles. If you remember from the fun stuff we got to do on the other one, we go to component mode, so we hit F8. We expand this one, turn off the dots, turn on question marks, and then we marquee it. Oh my God, I got it in the first try. Now I can rotate this around so that the Y is facing up. And that is good. All right, so that is sufficient. All right, I'll double check these, make sure these are still rotating good. Yes, yes. I'll rotate them just to verify that they're rotating in the correct direction. Yep, and yep. Cool. So now I'm going to save this. So I'm going to say save as Sarcona. I spelled my name wrong. And he's no longer the startup Chickster, he is Chickster with joints. He doesn't have a mouth, so he couldn't actually do like an actual joint. No one got that, all right. Oh. You guys are pretty horrible. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to skin the Chickster, okay? So before what we did is parented. Geometry, joint, parented them together, connected everything. We do not do that with him. We skin it, basically saying these are the joints, this is the skin, now make them work together. So skin, bind skin, option box. Now you have to go to the option box for this because the default settings are pretty horrible. Looking at a couple of these. So one of them is joint hierarchy, basically meaning these are the joints that I want to be skinned. Sometimes you don't want things to be skinned, like let's say I didn't want the tail one to actually be skinned or do anything. I still want it there for, you know, I may put something on it, but I don't want it to be part of the skinning or deformation. So I could say just the selected joints if I wanted to. For this, we can just do exactly just the joint hierarchy is fine. The bind method, we are going to use geodesic voxel. You don't have to know what that means at all. And then dual quaternion. Okay, we'll start with that one and we'll see how good it turns out. We may have to tweak things or adjust. So now I'm going to hit bind skin. Oops, I did not pick a skin, so I'll pick a skin. And then bind. So stuff happened down here. I should be able to now, if I click on my knees, let's say, and I rotate him, now he's moving. Now if you did this to like the Pokeball and you did bind skin, what would happen is that the Pokeball would like deform. So his arm or his finger that's like rigid, it would like squish down. It's just how that works. This, that's what we want to do, so that's what it's doing. Nice. I do want to test these things out individually, so I don't always want to just grab, you know, a bunch at the same time and test them. That's good. And I'm always undoing. Every time I rotate something, I just undo it afterwards. So now I'm grabbing all of these. Right there, right there, right there. Cool. Yep. So that looks like it's pretty decent. Like how he's moving around is pretty good. All right. Now you'll notice his eye obviously didn't move with him. You'll also notice that, his eye area right here does get a little bit weird shaped. Like it's slight, but it is like off, okay? And we can see that if I just take the eye, which has a texture, there it is, and I just parent it to that circle. Okay, so now I just grabbed the eye, parented it. The eye is an object I don't want to deform, so I parented it to the joints. Same reason we did it on the Pokeball. So now if I grab this and rotate it, that's further than he's going to go. Actually, that held up pretty good. That held up a lot better than I was expecting it to. Look at that. Let's try going this way. Well, that's holding up pretty good. Okay. For fun, let's pretend it didn't. So I'm going to click the skin, hold down Shift, hold the right click. Oops, sorry, just right click. Don't hold anything. Oh, come on. There we go. No holding down Shift. I'm going to go to the Paint Skin Weights tool. So this tool allows us to tell Maya which joints are affecting which vertices or pieces of the geometry. So when I go to the head base, which is that joint right there, it should be affecting all of these points by the eye. Okay, so I hold down B, I left click and drag, that shrinks the brush. If I click on this, and let's just pretend for now that my value is set to something lower like this. Okay. What's going to happen is as I rotate this, you'll see that the eye rotates further than the eye socket, and obviously that doesn't make sense. So what this allows us to do is say, okay, well this head base should have 100% control of all of these points here. So that's what this is doing. It's just controlling that 100%. And I have to make sure that each one of those faces is highlighted. Now you'll notice that I'm just painting with black and white, very much like a mask inside Photoshop or After Effects. It's basically using white as 100%, black as 0, and then in the middle is just these mid values. So 100% of the movement is coming from this. So now I can test it out again, just rotate. Yep, that looks good. Maybe not. Looks like we're still losing something there. So let me hit undo. I should have just left it all alone. I didn't, did I? let me, I'm going to isolate this. Yep, see there's some white on the inside, so that just needs to get painted also. Now when you do a full-blown character, someone that has hands and feet and toes and everything like that, you have to go like into the webbing of their hands and do all of this kind of thing to make sure that when they do this, the webbing spreads versus moving towards one side or moving towards the other. It's a whole nother thing when you do that kind of stuff. All right, so that's pretty good there. All right, so I'm satisfied with that. Cool. So now, for the most part, he can at least move. So if we had some motion capture data, we could drop it on him, and then he would move around or whatever. We need to obviously create a rig. So we can create curves. There we go. I can use my curve tool here in the top view, and I can just type in a big like C. There we go. So that C will be his controller. You could also bring in an image for, or a curve from Illustrator. If you save it as Illustrator 8, you go to that, and then you just say I want the curves. It'll actually bring in a path you've drawn in Illustrator if you want something special. Oops. So I'm just going to adjust these points so it doesn't look so bad. There we go. And now we can start to create some controls on here. So just like the Chickster, we should have something that's going to control the movement of this guy up and down. So this will be his waist, so that's going to be about here. I think I want that to go the other way. I actually don't like that at all. I'm just going to draw a circle. Come on. And I'm trying to hold down V and snap it to that joint. There we go. Nope, I missed. Oh my gosh. All right, good. All right, so it's there. I do not want to have any translates, rotates, scales on any of my controllers. Just like before, you always want a way to reset it back to the beginning. So I always freeze my transforms. I'll give this a name, Chickster main control. And then I'm going to take the Chickster's joints, shift-click this thing, and then P to parent it. So now I can grab this, move him around, and then reset it if I need to. So that's one control just to move the Chickster around. I also want a control for the eye, so I'm going to create a locator. I could create anything, okay? A locator is just a no item thing, just a random item I can just use. Okay. So that works. So that's pretty close to where the eye is looking already. I'm going to parent it to the joint right there. I lied. I'm going to parent it to that joint, okay? Maybe not that one. That one. That's the one I want, right there. Okay, I don't want the same one that the eye is parented to because that may cause some issues. So I parented this to that joint, and the eye is parented to that joint. Okay, so now this, I'm going to freeze transform again. It goes weird. Don't worry about that. It's in a weird spot. Okay, so just ignore that. And where am I going to go with this? I'm going to take the locator, call this eye aim. I'm going to shift click the eye. I'm going to go to constrain, and I'm going to say aim. Now, if we play with these, eventually we can get it to work correctly. The best thing to do, especially at starting off, is just hit add, let it freak out, and then fix it. Okay? So if I go to my attribute editor with Control A, go to the aim, what I want to do is change these two areas, the aim vector and the up vector. So basically it needs to know what direction is aiming at that locator, because it doesn't know that this is an eye. So I'm going to try the X direction. So I put a 1 there, a 0 in the Y area, and that looks like it's pointing at it. Now I can't have 1 in up and 1 in aim. That freaks my out. So I'll just take that out, put that in my Y. Now if I take this and move it, now his eye moves. Sweet. And if I take this and move it, you'll see that both controls move with him. Now I still want to be able to control some other stuff from this. I want my character to be able to also blink, okay? So I'm going to add a blink controller. So modify add. Blink. If this was a 2-eye situation, left blink, right blink kind of thing, but we only have one. He's going to have this one where he's just regular, and then he'll have blink. So it's start is 0, and then this is 10. Okay, so 0, oops, and 10. Now in order for this to actually blink, I have to create a deformer on here that will control or be controlled by this blink. So I'm going to click on here, go to deform, and I'm going to go to, where is it? It's not in there, sorry, I lied. It's under Window, Animation Editors, Blend Shapes, Shape Editor, because I renamed it. And I'm going to create a blend shape. So what this is going to allow me to do is that first one, that's my original shape. Everything I add after that is a target. So if I want to connect, if I want to have other things happen, that will be targets. So I would say I'm going to add a target. So here it is at 1. What do I want this target to look like? So I want it to look like he's blinking. So I'm going to go to face, and I'm just going to grab these. Oops. And I'm going to scale them and move them. And then I'm going to grab the next section and move that also. You'll see that we kind of like lose, because we don't have like a million divisions here, we lose a little bit of the lines for the eye, but we're fine with that. I'm going to grab more of these points. And it may be difficult to see, but just do your best to see them. And then just squeeze those together. And then just kind of shape it so that it looks like an eye, right? So I'm just kind of like pushing and pulling points. You can adjust these later too, so if you decide, hey, I don't like the way that looks, you're not locked into it. All right, so we'll just pretend that that's good enough for now. I'll just scoot this down. All right, just pretend that that's good. It's not, because his eye is still open. All right, so now if I scroll this back, there's his blink. Okay, we lose like some volume on there. I just need to fix that. Isolate, I'm going to go inside. Give that a little bit of thickness. That wasn't even near his eye. Let's go inside here. There we go. It's so close, come on. There we go. And now that it's isolated, I can actually grab all of the vertices right here, not there, and scale them together. And that will almost look like it once I move that down. There we go. Okay, so that looks more like a closed eye. So now, I have an eye closing control. Okay, so I'm done editing, so I can turn edit off. So now if I were to grab points and start moving them around, it would just screw up the shape. So I can't do that at this point. If I need to fix something, I go back to the shape editor, make sure I'm on body, make sure I'm on edit, make sure this is all the way up to 1, and then I specify what that's doing. Okay, so now that I have this control, I don't have to keep coming here to edit it. It's actually on the body itself. So if I go to the body shape, I go to blend shape, there it is. Okay, so now all I need to do is connect this to that. So you can use any method. I could use expressions, I could use the connection editor, I could use the graph editor or whatever it is. So I'm going to use just the expression editor. So that. Blink equals iaim.blink. That's probably wrong, but we'll find out. Yep, it's wrong. Just copy this. And this is called BlendShape1.body1, which I should rename to blink. I'm going to hit. I'm going to go to that editor again and rename that. I thought I could do that out there. Blink. There we go. All right. So BlendShape1.blink equals iaim.blink, and now it works. Okay. So now this will go from 0 to 1, and as it goes past 1, it's going to do that. Okay. So this control was originally 0 to 1. My locator is 0 to 10. So as it goes past 1, it is basically just continuously going. Okay? So I need to go back to that expression and just multiply this times 0.1. So basically it's just resetting the value. Okay? So now when this is at 10, it's closed. When it's at 0, it's open. Perfect. So now I can take this and I can move it and then have him blink. I can move it again and have him blink again. It's gorgeous, right? All right, and then the final things I'm going to set up on him are his legs, and then I'll get to the other parts a different day. So there's that. And I'm going to do one leg. Magic guess here that the other one is the exact same thing. So that's this. This will be right leg controller. Always parent first, so I parent it to that. I'm debating. Do I want to parent it to that? I don't. I'm not going to parent it to that one. For the specific reason that I may want to move the leg separate from the hips. So imagine my character is standing on the ground. If I grab that hip controller and move it down, his feet will go below the ground also. Okay, if it's parented. If it's not parented, I can grab the hips and move it down and the feet will stay still. Okay? Advanced rigs will have it both ways where you can tell it which way you want it. Okay, so it's not parented. He's all by himself. I will freeze transforms. Good. And then I will add some controllers to this. So I'm going to go to add attribute. Basically, I need pinky, rotate, -10, 10, and 0. Index, rotate. Oops. -10, 10, and 0. Thumb, rotate. Cool. That'll work. Yep. And then I'm going to have this rotation be controlled by this. Okay. I'm also going to have the movement be controlled by this as well. So I'll set up the movement first. So I'm going to go to my skeleton. I'm going to go to IK handle. This is what we use to control the Pokeball's arm, is that IK handle. I click on the hip, I click on the ankle, and now just like before, we can move it around. Okay, now just like before, we don't want to ever move the IK handle, so I shift click the circle and hit P to parent it, and then I hide the IK handle. So now it's gone. So now I can move this, and that's great. Now I also want to be able to rotate the foot by itself. So right now as I rotate, it's rotating the whole leg. So I need to create another locator. For this kind of thing, I keep the controls pretty simple. I'd rather spend more time making the controls work good than drawing out specific circles and curves and whatever. So I'm going to take this and parent it to the hips. And then I will take this and freeze transform it. And then right leg controller, there's that IK handle. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, control click the IK handle, and go to constrain pull vector. And that's what we use for the elbow, same exact thing. So now, when I grab this and move it, he's pointing at that locator. As I grab this and move it, you'll see how he's pointing at that locator, his knee is. Okay, so that's cool. Now I can make the circle rotate just his ankle. Right now it's not doing anything. So I'm going to grab the circle, I'm going to shift click the joints, and say constrain orient. And everything should be good here. I'll say maintain offset even though there isn't one, and I'll hit add. Okay. Now when I did that, even though there was no offset, you'll see that it actually did offset it. It's like negative 180, 180, and whatever. So just weird how Maya's math works, but there we go. So now we can move this, or rotate that. We can move this, and we can really get this into a position that we need to get it in. Okay? If our character is running, if you've ever recorded a dog or watched a horse running in slow motion or animal running in slow motion, they don't just like hit the ground with their paw, they like glide, right? So their foot is going to hit the ground, the back of it, and then it's going to slide and move up. So if he has these like fingers, they're going to do the exact same thing. The back fingers are going to hit the ground and slide and then come up, okay? If he was, some animals will grab onto stuff as they're running too, right? So as he's running, his digits may go like this, or they may go back. So that's what these controls are for. One to go backwards and one to go forward. So I'm going to grab set driven, because that's how I will control these guys. My driver is this. This is all review from what we did before. And I'm just going to add all of these at once. Okay, so this is the right foot pinky. And then this will be rotate, which one? Z, rotate Z. Okay, so pinky rotate is at 0. This is at 0, I key it. Then I go to pinky rotate to 10. And I'm going to rotate it down like this. Even though this is going negative, I don't care. I feel like 10 would be this way and negative 10 would be up. So that's how I'm animating it. Go further than you think you need to go. So this is at negative 60. Leave it at negative 60. Then I'm going to set this circle to negative 10. Grab the pinky joints and rotate it the other way more than I need to go. So 45. So now I have the circle, I have the pinky rotate, and I have that. Okay, so now I'll do the same thing on this one. That is thumb, yes. Thumb, yes. Probably also rotate Z, just to verify, yes. The hardest thing about this is just making sure you have the right things clicked. So take your time with it. Oops, that's the wrong one. There it goes. Negative 6D. And then grab the circle, set this to negative 10. And set that to positive 45. That worked for the other one, so why not for this one too, right? Pinky, index, thumb. So one of these is not named right, and nobody called me on my crap. So what's up with you guys? So what did I call these? Pinky, thumb, and back. So there is no index. You guys didn't catch that. So let's edit this. There is no index, right? Back rot. Okay. So now let me reload my driver. Now I have back rot. That doesn't sound very good. Okay, everything's zeroed out. Set a key. Set this to negative 10. Doesn't matter which one I do first. And then that goes to 45. Set this to positive 10. That goes to 60. And key. So there we go. So now I have controls for pinky rotation, back rot, and thumb rot. I can move this. I can rotate it. I can adjust where this is at. And then I can reset everything back to 0 to get him where he needs to be. So this is what I was talking about before. If I move this down now, see how the other leg stays here? That leg has gone below the ground. I don't want it to go below the ground, okay? Especially if my character is running. In order for him to feel like he's hitting the ground, that foot needs to be planted and stay planted while the hips move down. And so with the way that this rig will work, let's say he's here and he's about to land his foot, right? So his foot doesn't land like that. That doesn't look realistic at all. Move this down some. Forward a bit. All right, so he's landing his foot. His foot does not land like that. His foot lands like this. Like that, and then the back rot would be like that. So that's how his foot would land. Maybe these two might be like this, or maybe they're like that. I don't know. We'd have to do a little animation to figure out what we want that to do. Okay, probably like this. Because that'll give us a nice little flicker as he's like coming up. Okay, so that's the kind of controls we want to have so that our Chickster can just move around. And now he's back to where he was. Okay, we also have this so that we can control his blinking. And then we can move it around. And then the last two things, I'm not going to show it today, I'll show it next time, is these feathers in the back. When he rotates, I want those feathers to shake. Okay, I don't want to have to manually animate them shaking. I want Maya to kind of figure out how that's going to wiggle around. And the same thing up here, I want those to be kind of wiggly also. So when he moves his head or whatever, I want that to happen. He also has these controls here on the neck. That. Right? So he can do something like that. So we'll have to figure out also a way that we can control these a bit easier than constantly grabbing all of those joints at the same time. I want to have something that'll make it a bit easier. Most likely I'm just going to put some sort of controller there that I could just click on. So like a little C or a little whatever right at the back of the spine. I click on them all and then I have it all, okay? And then obviously I need one for the head so that I can control the head's rotation. And I don't like how that's rotating. Let me see what that one does. No, I don't like that. I need something where I could just do that. That's fine, but I don't like rotating in 3 directions. Look at that. That's ugly. So I'll have to fix that too. Okay, so some repetitive stuff on here, some new stuff. Hopefully it'll be much easier than the PokeMech because it's a little bit more organic. It's a lot more organic. But it's also a lot more fun. He also has his UVs laid out. If you don't know what that means, then don't worry about it. But if you do know what it means that you could put a texture on him. You could paint one in another application, and it'll come over. So if you wanted to paint a material on him so it looks like he has, blue legs or whatever, you could definitely do that. Just for fun. Rendering. Some people don't know this exists. There's a 3D paint tool inside Maya. It's not very good, but it's good enough, right? I can assign a new material to this. 4096 is a perfect size. And then I just pick a color, right? So he's green. Hold down B just like before. Oops, come on. Middle drag, and now I can paint this. You'll see it paints it kind of weird around the seams. That's why it's kind of sucky, but whatever. We can change this. My brush is soft. My opacity is down. There we go. Soften some of these areas. So if you want to give them a fancy texture, you can definitely do that. Or at least halfway, at least something. Or you can just give them a flat color. Okay, the end result of this, we will have basically a field of these things just kind of mulling around, doing different things. So some of them will be sitting there just kind of like looking around. Some will be walking. Some will be doing whatever, okay? So if you want to have different colors and stuff, you could definitely start experimenting with these kinds of things. Oops, and then make sure you hit save when you're done. I do not want to save that. I will ignore that I even did that. There we go. Cool. So I'll save that. And then that's it. Any questions on it yet?